Hi, welcome to Hitchhiker's Guide to Humanity. I'm back today with my co-host Roni and our friend Silas from the Kikuyu culture. And Silas is talking to us today about rites of passage. Specifically, this time we're going to get into the marriage rite, and then later on we'll talk about naming practices. So Silas, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks again.
And Roni,
Nice to be here.
thanks for coming in today, Roni, and having this conversation and guiding me on it with Silas.
Thank you, and welcome to this episode, everybody.
All right. So when I left last time, I had this question about what happens when babies who are intersexed are born. Now, this is a rare condition, but it does happen. One in about 100,000 babies. What happens in Kikuyu tradition when this baby comes out and they're not quite sure what to do with it?
Oh, that's a crazy one. Intersex is so rare. I've actually never heard of intersex in the Kikuyu, among the Kikuyu. We did a census last year in Kenya, and there were less than 1% who were intersex in Kenya. There were less than 1,000 intersex people in the whole country of 46 million. So that is so rare that I don't even think that Kikuyus even knew what an intersex person is.
Interesting. So then there's no special kind of tribal because in Native American culture, transgendered people and intersex people and even people in the general LGBTQ community were honored in tribes. They historically were known as twin souls, and kind of have this magical power or special privilege within their tribe. So is there anything like that in Kikuyu tribes or in other African tribes?
Well, maybe there's an allusion to that. I'm not sure, because when we were kids, we used to be told that if somebody jumps over you, if a lady jumps over you, her sex can change. So it was taboo to jump over someone. And there was some tales of a mountain you could go to, and if you wanted to change your sex, you go around that mountain 7 times, saying a certain chant. So maybe it was being alluded to, because as a child, I would wonder, why would anybody want to change their sex? But anyway.
Well, yeah, you got born into the more powerful one, so. Have you not ever heard Taylor Swift's "If I Was a Man"?
Yes. I know what you mean.
So, yeah, that's really interesting to see how different cultures around the world react to those differences in those kind of gray areas of gender and sex and sexual identity. So then let's move on to our topic today about marriage in Kikuyu tradition. So you've got, first off, what's the dating process like? When do children begin dating? When are they considered able to date? And how does that process work?
As soon as you are going through the rite of passage and you are healed, the boys, from the age of puberty, they were basically free, because they were so free because they were living as separately from the parents now, and they were beginning to shape their own destiny. And so you could say dating started from puberty going on, but you were expected to marry maybe just before you were 20 years old, around that age. So marriages were quite early, and they would bear many children, and per woman, and it was a polygamous society. So any man who wanted to marry more than one wife was allowed to do so. It was expensive to marry because it meant dowry price, bride price, and if you were able to come up with the number of goats, 40 goats, that is, you were allowed to. So the dating was kind of between the age of 13 going all the way to the age of 20, before now your different families accepted each other and confirmed that they want they have given their blessings for you to marry into that family, because marriage was something, it's like you're marrying an entire family. You're not just marrying the girl, you're also marrying into a family, and they're marrying into you. Of course, you are extracting the lady from them and sort of bribing them with goats and cows, but they had to approve you. They had to make sure that in your family there are no curses, because they believed that some families were cursed. So they had to do some research. There was a lot of back and forth before you were accepted. They had to make sure they're not marrying into people who have been previously accused of crimes. Maybe they were thieves, or maybe they were criminals. They did something bad in the past. They just didn't want to taint. So it was very much marriage of convenience, and you're marrying into the family, not just marrying a person.
Interesting. So then, you've say you're a young man or a young woman in the Kikuyu culture, and you've found the person you're going to be with. You've paid the bride price, and then how is the wedding itself set up? What's the ritual for that?
Well, it's elaborate. There are several rituals. The first one is the introduction. The man comes to present himself. He doesn't say anything; just comes with his friends. Just to make himself known and make his intentions known. And it's very tense because he's not sure if they will just reject him. And then there's a second visit where when the first visit was okay, you were not chased away. They did not say yes, but they did not say no. So now you are confident, you come back the second time. The second time is to discuss the bride price. You'll find elders from that side, and you come with now your elders from your side. The first time you came with just your friends, your peers, to give you moral support and to talk on your behalf. And the second time you come with your elders, and they actually sit down and negotiate bride price. And they talk and they exchange a lot of stories about this family is from this reputation, and this is what we have, this is what we are known for, and so forth. We're from this side of the hill, and then they are asked, okay, normally before we even speak, you have to slaughter a goat. Before we even speak, we have to get beer and pour libation to the ancestors. So you're already showing if you are capable of, if you're capable of provisioning for those rituals, you're already getting some points from the side of the girl, from the girl's parents. So the bridegroom doesn't speak, the bride doesn't speak, the parents of the bride don't speak, only the elders speak to each other. They're like ambassadors for that family, and the uncles and the aunts. And so you have to provide so much. You have to provide clothing, which they cover, the women cover themselves. They're called lesos. So they cover themselves with them like aprons. So you must provide them. That's the second meetup. The third one is called Rorashio. It's the final one, and there's some traditions to simply confirm that now you've been given the girl. You're accepted to pay the bride price. Usually you're asked for 40 goats. You're asked for 99 bottles of beer. You're supposed to come with at least half of what you promised on that visit, and you actually live with the girl when you on that visit. So that's like a complete marriage, because now you've left with the girl. So those three rituals are there, but because of modernity and because Christianity came in so much into most of the Kikuyu culture, there is a fourth actual wedding that takes place in a church. So most Kikuyus are married twice. They have the traditional wedding, which is those rituals, and then there's the Christian wedding. So that's how it goes.
It's very interesting. So now I do know from when I was planning my marriage back 100 years ago, I was reading through different rituals from around the world about marriage ceremonies, and one of them I read about that originated in Africa. We actually incorporated into my ceremony, which was jumping the broom. So is that part of Kikuyu or Luo or other Kenyan cultures, jumping the broom?
It's not a Kikuyu one, but yes, it is in some African tribes. I think it's West African.
West African.
Most likely comes from West Africa, I think so.
All right. Well, I think we're going to have a guest from West Africa come on the show very soon. So as soon as we can arrange that, hopefully we can find out more about those traditions as well. So during, if I was going to a Kikuyu, modern Kikuyu wedding, Christian wedding, how would it be different from a Western wedding?
Oh, in the church and everything.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of influence from the African side, because the way they dress is they dress in African attire. It's time to show off. The bride will still dress in the white gown in the wedding, but she might change into something African during the after party. Although these days, this generation has begun to re-embrace the old traditions, African traditions. You might find a bridegroom actually in African attire, even in the church wedding. But most of the time, there's a lot of influence of church of African culture. There are the songs from the tribal songs like Kikuyu, if it's Kikuyu. There's Swahili songs inside the church, so there will be a lot of Swahili songs and a lot of the drums. So mostly the expression in the music will be very Africanized, even inside the church.
Interesting.
So I think that's something you'll notice, and of course the cuisine is very much African. You'll eat the local meats, you'll eat the local starches, the local brews. Of course, in the church you don't have brews in the church, but soon after coming from the church to the pre-wedding, to the post-wedding, there will be those. There will be that taste of Africa.
That's really cool. We see that a lot, starting again in Western cultures too, bringing back those old traditional styles. Like you'll see people of Scottish ancestry in America getting married in kilts. So yeah. It's really cool to see that people will still bring in their heritage and even into this modern world. So going back to the dating and that process of paying the bride price and things like that. In this modern age of Tinder and, swipe left, swipe right, is that still something that's going on, or has it switched to a more modern kind of Tinder date match kind of thing?
Definitely, from not just Kikuyu, the whole of Africa now, you don't know where these people met. They probably met on the internet, probably met at school. So they met. The people don't marry so locally anymore. They marry from far corners of your county, the other side of the country. So it becomes a mesh of two. For example, a Kikuyu might marry a Luo, and they might end up bringing their culture. So when they're playing the music, they'll play some Luo music, and then they'll play some Kikuyu music, and it'll be almost like a competition between the bride's side and the groom's side, because they come from different cultures. So they must play songs from both cultures, definitely, during that wedding.
That's interesting. So now I know that there is something similar to the European Union in Africa, where several countries you can travel freely between the countries. Are people now starting to date even like across the continent?
Yes, it happens so naturally because people have traveled and they get smitten across. Maybe you get somebody is married to somebody in Nigeria, a Nigerian and Kenyan wedding, so they fly back and forth. Your groom, if the groom is from Nigeria, he has to fly into Kenya and do all those rituals.
So the rituals are still held to. They're just combined with Tinder.
Yeah. Yes, they are combined with Tinder. If you get a white man from UK, he has to come over and do those traditions. He has to come over and buy those textiles and buy that local beer if he's going to fetch a girl from Kikuyu land.
That's interesting. So now, are you seeing? Because I know, like, I myself am dating someone that's international from me, and we're starting to see a lot of those distance barriers break down. Are you seeing a lot more relationships with people from the West coming in and following your traditions and your culture so that they can be with the person they love?
Definitely, I think they're embracing it because they are being asked for bride price and they're paying it. They just come and have to find out where the goats are and, and where the cows are, because there's no escaping it. And you don't pay the full amount because you never pay the full amount because you always have to be in debt. You cannot say, oh, I paid, if it's 40 goats, you only pay 39. You're actually not allowed to pay the 40, so that you will always be in debt with that family. And that will be, that means you are not totally severed from, you have not severed that girl from her family.
Interesting. I like how that kind of, now it does seem to be like a little bit manipulative of, oh, like, now you're going to owe me forever, but at the same time, it does keep those ties together and keeps the tribe strong. So that's a very interesting concept. So yeah, it's a great conversation on the marriage rights of the Kikuyu. Now, my next question, of course, is once the wedding is over, the marriage that's not the end of the marriage. So how does that marriage play out? What are the roles of the husband and the wife in that situation?
Well, by the way, personally, I don't believe in bride price. I might be crucified if I say that, because you know, it's kind of like you're owning somebody. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
But it's so entrenched and it's so also it's so entrenched that even the girls themselves feel that they're worth something if you bring 40 goats over. But the whole deal is that she becomes your helper, and mostly she's there to give you support while you build your family together. Like I said, it's still a polygamous country. I know polygamy is basically illegal outside of in the West, but here it's actually in the law. It has been there so long that it has been passed in Parliament that you can decide to have a traditional wedding and be it's certified, or you can decide to have a religious wedding. So you have to choose one of the two.
Just a clarification on that. While polygamy is illegal throughout most of the Western world, the reason for that is more to do with like inheritance rights and things like that, and especially in Europe, it's mostly like they don't want 5 people on your insurance if you know, that kind of thing. 5 different women or 5 different men on your insurance. But polyamory is perfectly legal here. So like, I'm polyamorous myself. And you're here you are allowed to date whoever you want, and as many people as you want, as long as everyone is in agreement with it. So is that also true? Is it polygyny? Is it or is it polyamory or polygamy? Yeah, which is it polygyny or is it polygamy? Is it only
it's polygamy?
The women?
Actually, it's only the men, but it has not really ever come up that women might want to. What do you call it when it's a woman who has several husbands?
We call it polygyny or polyandry. When the woman has several husbands, it's polyandry.
That's so rare. It's so rare here that it was not even captured in that legal change, in that constitutional change. They actually put, I think they put the word polygamy.
Silas, do you remember sometime? I think it was last year or something. There was this woman who was highlighted in the news who has 2 husbands.
Yes, yes.
Did you see it?
I think it's known. That's why I said it's rare, but it's there.
Yeah, it is such a rare case that when they came across this woman, it was broadcasted all over the country that she has two husbands. It's so rare. It's not something that just does not happen in Kenya.
Yes.
Well,
but for the sake of equality.
Yeah, my friend Amanda has a husband and a boyfriend, so it's starting to become more commonplace in America and Europe. So.
I guess it's for the sake of equality. If they wanted to be qualified in the constitution, I think they will not be able to stop it from being added to the constitution if the women demand it. But so far, nobody has requested it to also be captured.
I think
because
most women
men
are just
would
like,
never allow it. Yeah.
Or women are just like, one is enough. One is too much as it is. So.
Not really, because women, even if you go into this like online Facebook or whatever platforms, you see the way women talk. They have a husband and they have 2 boyfriends here and there. They have 1 or 2 boyfriends here and there. It's something that they do, but the society does not like allow it. So you have it, but you keep it a secret, because when you come out with it, you're called a prostitute, you're called all sorts of names. But when the man does it, it's okay, because it's okay in the eyes of society when a man does it, because people say that men are naturally polygamous, or the culture allows men to be polygamous. But when a woman does it, it's something that is so bad that the woman becomes shunned and called a prostitute and called what and all sorts of names. So it's just
that does happen some. That does happen some in America to women who are polyamorous, and so a lot of times in America it is kept on the DL. People don't talk about it, but here in Europe, people are pretty open about it. I've met several people who practice poly lifestyle here, or are swingers, and there is a difference between the two. I consider myself poly, not a swinger. I want to develop relationships with people, but I don't want to just like have a one-night stand with 15 different people. That's not really my thing. But there are people who are into that, and more power to them. If they enjoy that, then, whatever makes them happy. But yeah, I think here in Europe, it's much more accepted. It's mostly not talked about just because it doesn't come up, but not because anybody would be shamed by it.
Can I ask you a question, Krys? I don't find it offensive. It's just I'm just wondering.
I don't find anything offensive.
So you say that you are polyandrous, isn't you? So do you have like your main partner?
I have a main partner.
Then the other guy is just like there and there, but you have your main partner, or is it like 50-50?
Well, no. My partner is free to do whatever he wants. At this point, he doesn't seem to be really interested in pursuing that. But if he ever was, obviously, he would get the same equality that I would in it. At this point, I have one main partner that I live with, but I do go on dates with other people, and I have casual dates with them. I would say at this point, it's more like friends and seeing what else could be there, but I take things very slow with people. I'm not one to just like jump into a relationship. I've done that before and it's ended badly. So I try to be very responsible with that. Also, this is a concept that actually a friend of mine coined for me, because I didn't know it was called this, but it's kitchen table polyamory, which means that if you're going to practice polyamory, then everyone that's connected in those relationships needs to be able to sit down and have a dinner together. at the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very least, they need to be friends with each other and support each other's goals. They don't have to be in sexual relationships with each other, but every partner should be aware of the status of those relationships and what they're walking into. You know, so it has to be built around a lot of talking, a lot of communication, and that you have to go into those very slowly. Otherwise, it can lead to a lot of, you know, humans are humans. It can lead into a lot of jealousy and suspicion and other negative thoughts and feelings. And that's not really the point of what we're trying to do. So you have to talk about that a lot, and that's normal to feel. And of course, it's not right for everyone. It's a slow process, you know, of trying to figure out who you are and what you want in those relationships. So how is that compared to polygamy in African culture?
Well, I think it came in, like, polygamy was legalized because all the men were doing it, or let's say like 60% of the men were doing it, and they were doing it in hiding. So if you were to arrest people because it was illegal at that time, you were to arrest so many people. It became, and the members of parliament who were predominantly male, they sort of conspired to just legalize it because many of them already had second wives in hiding. So they had mistresses in hiding, and they just wanted to legalize it. But because of that background, even though it's in the law, many men are still hiding their mistresses, and then after they have children with them, they still hide them, even though you have a second wife. You may even paid dowry, but he has never met your first wife, and sometimes the first wives don't even know they have competition.
So that's completely backwards to what modern polyamory would be. Because in modern polyamory, it's very much about openness and honesty and just meeting each other's needs, you know. So hopefully I would like to see that evolve, you know, with more open and honest communication about what needs are not being met in relationships. That would be ideal, to just like make sure that everybody is in agreement with everything going on. What steps do you think would need to happen in order to see that situation come about?
I'm not really sure because, like I said, being polygamous comes with an expense. You have to be able to cater for all your wives adequately and their children. And in these modern day times, it's quite a tall order. A few men who are capable. There's one guy who is from he's also Bantu, not exactly Kikuyu, but a tribe very close to the Kikuyu is called the Meru. He has 40 wives. He has 40 wives, and he has been able to house each and every one of them. So he comes out openly because he knows that he's capable. I think he's a rich medicine man. So he has built a house for each of his wives, and they have a small farm for each of them. So he is able to come out openly and say, I have many wives, and knows that they don't have any squabbles among themselves. But I don't know how many people can pull that off.
Well, I think that the answer to that then would be to make sure that women are financially independent so that their husbands don't need to support them. And that way, if women support themselves, then husbands don't need to pay bride prices or anything like that. I think that's kind of like why it has been able to evolve here the way it has over time, is because women here are completely financially independent. We're not dependent on a man to come in and be our husband and provide for us. We can provide for ourselves, which kind of levels the playing field for us, especially in regards to sex. We can both make demands on what we want in our life, and they have equal footing. They can make their own demands in return. Would that be something that would need to be worked towards, is female financial independence?
Yes, I want to agree with you on that because it would be a big relief for men. However, men are proud. Men are always so proud, and they're also afraid of when women come into power. There's that fear they have for women coming into power and being financially empowered. At least for the Kikuyu, the women were already empowered, but there's a correlation that's being drawn lately to women empowerment and marriages and the divorce rate going up.
Interesting.
So yeah,
That is one thing that I completely fail to get about Kenyan men. Silas, maybe you can explain this to us about African men. Let me say, you want a woman who is empowered and can take care of herself, who can bring something to the table. But the minute you get such a woman, you also complain that she is too headstrong, she does not respect you, she talks back to you, she's not submissive. You have all these complaints again. You want her, but when you get her again, she's too much for you to handle.
No African man would ever want me. Oh my goodness.
So it is this women and empowerment, and it's just in Kenya, it's just something, I don't know. Most women who are like empowered and have their own money, have their own jobs, you find them single, not without husbands or having been divorced. Things like that.
I do kind of want to put Silas's feet to the coals here and make him answer that. But I do also want to point out that men here seem to be really happy with the situation because now they can spend money on themselves instead of spending money on women. You know, that term going Dutch originated from here. We split the bill on everything.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the thing is, women can afford it. So why not? You know, and that way, as a woman going out on dates with men, I feel such a relief that I don't have to depend on them to pay for it, that I can pay for my own meal. Because at the end of the night, my first thought is, if they pay for it, do they expect something now? Am I beholden to them?
Mm-hmm.
And this frees me from feeling like that. So therefore, if I do want to continue a physical relationship with them, there's not this idea that I'm beholden to them, that I owe them something. It's literally just because I want to. Yeah. So
let's go Dutch. If we can be combined with polygamy, the going Dutch with the polygamy can be combined, it will be heaven.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that everyone here is polyamorous. By no means. It's probably less than 1% of the population. But the people I have met that practice poly relationships here are happy in their decisions. And they're practicing it in a very honest and open way. I'm not saying that's 100% across the board, but when they practice it in this open and honest way, they're very happy with it. So, Silas, what is that with African men about not wanting these empowered women after they get them?
I think they've had power for so long; it's hard to let go of it. But it's
These Kenyan men, they complain so much when they get the empowered women that we don't respect them. We see ourselves as you cannot tell me anything because I have my own money. You cannot, if a man brings something to the table to be discussed and you offer an alternative opinion, or if you refuse to go by what they say, they tie it back to you having your own money, so you feel like you cannot be told anything. Like the man does not have his place as the head of the family. So you're supposed to be empowered, you're supposed to bring something to the table, but you're not supposed to talk, you're not supposed to have an opinion on anything, you're just supposed to be there, to be submissive and be there. That is a very big problem.
There's a major issue with what we're calling boy child problems these days. Especially in this generation, men were not even taught how to cook, and they don't have so many skills, life skills. They don't have role models.
Oh my goodness, you're telling me I'm dating a younger man, so that's exactly what it is.
So they have a lot of confusion within themselves. They are confounded.
Yeah, I think that that may have a lot to do with needing to mature a little bit too with men. I've noticed that now what I have noticed is that this younger generation here in Europe, as well as in America, tend to have less of that toxic masculinity about them than men my age and older. However, I do find that men my age and older tend to know how to pick their battles a little better with women.
Yeah.
They will put their foot down on certain things, but most of it they'll let go because they know it's not really important in the long run. But this has been a really fascinating conversation on the marriage rite itself, the dating rituals, as well as, you know, how a Kikuyu marriage works, and some of the benefits that are derived from that, and then some of the issues that still need to be worked through. So thank you so much, Silas, for joining us on this episode. When we come back, we'll be talking about Kikuyu naming practices. So if you guys have any questions about Kikuyu wedding rituals, or share your own wedding story with us, what did you tap into your own ancestry and pull out those old traditions? Do you follow them now? Are you poly? Share that experience with us. All right, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back on the next episode.